Welcome everyone, thank you for joining us today. This is part 2 of our Future Data Center Strategy series for Oracle users. My name's David Blocks, I'm the Marketing Manager at Software One. Today we're focusing on how to help you migrate Oracle applications to the cloud. Before I hand over to today's presenters, just a few housekeeping rules. As you may have noticed, as you join the call, you've been set on mute. This just to ensure that sound quality remains at an optimum through the webinar. If you do have questions, and we do encourage interaction, then please use the chat box facility on your control panel, and that will enable you to send us your questions, and we'll have time at the end for Q&A. So today's presenters, today I'm joined by Software One's Oracle Solutions Specialist, Robert Lamb, and also today with Oracle Systems Partner, James Ball from Clockwork. I'll hand over to Rob.
Yes, thank you, David. Good morning, everybody. As David said, it's the second part of our series. We're going to cover mainly around Oracle applications and how we could shift that to the new world, and looking at the options for on-premise and AWS and SaaS. And at the end, we'll talk around how we can help you through that journey. So in respect of Software One, for the few people that have not joined us before, just like to talk you through some overviews on Software One. So global organisation based in 83 countries, 5 billion turnover, and now over 3,000 customer service orientated specialists globally, licensing, SAM specialists and technical specialists. We deliver globally to our customers. Just waiting for the screen to refresh here. Deliver to customers around all of the major vendors, IBM, Oracle, VMware, SAP, and Microsoft, of course, which is one of the core products in our services. And as an independent advisor, we cover commercial, technical, and governance of all those licensed products. But today we're going to concentrate on the Oracle applications aspect of this technology stack, and I'm pleased to welcome James Ball, one of our trusted partners, to come and talk us through that. So we've already covered optimizing the architecture during the first series, which was concentrating on consolidating the instances onto a more modern platform to run your Oracle technology. And today we're going to be looking at the optimizing the performance and the technology uplift to deliver a better user experience and to optimize the architecture, whether that be on a private or public cloud. So in order to take us through that journey, I'm going to hand over to James and to cover our Oracle applications journey.
Thank you, Rob. So firstly, just a few words about Clockwork. So we're a UK-based organisation. We're a born in the cloud company. We've been trading since 2013, and as you see, we hold some partner accreditations with both Oracle and Amazon Web Services. We specialise completely in the migration of Oracle systems to cloud platforms, and have been successfully doing that for a number of years. We migrate both dev, test and production workloads to the cloud, and we've been running production Oracle workloads, eBusiness Suite, Business Intelligence, SOA Stack and so on since 2013. So just a few words about what we see when customers come to us. So we find that customers, when they approach Clockwork, there's generally an amount of confusion, an amount of what we call legacy spaghetti that needs to be unraveled so that we can successfully migrate to cloud. When customers come to us, generally it's because they don't want to buy and build anymore. Lots of customers have existing data center investments, machine room investments, and that's not where the business wants to focus. They want to use cloud technologies so that they can focus on their business fundamentals and not on the intricacies of running an IT and a data center estate. When we talk about legacy spaghetti, we mean the technical debt, the interconnections and the complexities that have been built up from many, many years of running Oracle systems in the cloud. So how do those challenges present themselves? Well, generally, licenses is a key concern. Do I have sufficient licenses currently? How will those work when we move to cloud? What are the impacts there? Will I need to procure any more or make any changes? As we talked about the legacy spaghetti, the interconnections between systems. What do I have to move first? What are the dependencies on migrating one part of my system to the cloud and leaving the remainder on-premise for a little while? Data transfer is important. So in terms of the integrity of data as we move it to the cloud, and also the timeliness as well. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But this is making sure that once our data moves to the cloud, it is as robust as it was on-premise, and that we can make that move within an acceptable business outage, given that our data has grown significantly over the years of our IT investment. Business criticality, we need to be assured that the business can continue to function both before, during and after the move to the cloud. And then a couple of things that generally cause some issues that have to be overcome early on in the process. So we see quite a lot of contradicting marketing from the different cloud vendors, which can cause a lot of confusion. And we like to cut through some of that marketing, get to the facts, and help customers make the right decisions when they're choosing cloud platforms. Versions cause an amount of concern as well. Older versions can be harder to move to SaaS platforms and to an extent to infrastructure as a service platforms. So we do a lot of work around what's the minimum version that needs to be maintained to move to the cloud. And support, how does my support model work? If I'm used to running an on-premise system, a third-party hosted data center, I can be pretty sure about who I'm going to call. But when I split up my services and I have a number of cloud providers, how do I know that I can continue to get my support and that the support levels that I see across the different organizations are going to support the service levels that I expect for my business? So we're just going to click through this slide because it builds. So what we found is generally what doesn't work is trying to do an extensive all-encompassing discovery exercise before moving to the cloud. We found that when you look at your Oracle systems, actually there's only 10, 20, maybe a few more data points that you really need to know before you can start to make sensible, informed decisions about what your cloud strategy is going to be. So when we do a discovery exercise, we'll look at the current systems inventory, so the systems that run, collect those data points. We do some analysis, and the options we present back are always a combination of, can we move the platform to an open source platform? Can we move it to platform as a service to reduce the total cost of ownership? Or do we move to infrastructure as a service and replicate essentially the on-premise infrastructure in the cloud? And we compile those into different options, generally based around price, complexity, and the amount of work that needs to be done for the move. Once we've run through those options, we can put together an appropriate investment case for the business and move towards a migration plan. So once again, this is a slide that builds, and it just gives some examples of, in this case, an Amazon Web Services migration of an Oracle system to the cloud, and what kind of benefits customers can expect to get. There's 3 steps here. The first is optimizing architecture. So there are, as you move to the cloud, there are options to remove some of the complexity that you have, lower total cost of ownership, use fewer licenses, and benefits from some of the technologies that exist in the cloud. One of the key ones that we frequently see is on-premise customers have a disaster recovery site that completely replicates their production infrastructure at a second location. These obviously take up space, it's obviously expensive to run. often there is technology and licenses involved in having those warm standby systems available in the event of DR. In the cloud, this is something that you can completely remove. So by using some smart replication technologies and infrastructure as code, essentially in the event of the loss of your primary site, you can rebuild a full set of production infrastructure and attach the latest backup snapshot and have your production environment ready again without having any investment in disaster recovery hardware. The second one is a little more subtle. We find lots of customers who have Oracle Real application clusters for the resilience of their environment. There are options once you move to the cloud, again using infrastructure as a service, but also using higher level services, and one of those available from Amazon is their relational database as a service. This is available in what they call multi-AZ mode, which essentially means that your database is replicated in 2 locations, and in the event that the first one fails, the second one comes back online in a few minutes. It's not an exact swap for Oracle Real application clusters, but we often find that customers are willing to look at those non-functional requirements again, examine the need for Oracle RAC, and replace it with a lower cost alternative service. So the second step is optimizing for performance. This often comes in when we're looking at licenses for the cloud. So what we frequently see is that customers can use fewer Oracle licenses in the cloud to run the same type of workload if they follow some performance optimization rules. And once again, in AWS, these break down into 2 areas, and these are the areas that frequently cause performance problems in the database. So we'll use quite high memory instances to run Oracle systems. This means we remove any memory bottlenecks that the CPU has to wait for. We call this getting the CPU working, not waiting, which is important because it's got an expensive license attached to it. And similarly, we remove any bottlenecks to storage, once again to get the CPU working, not waiting. So we use what Amazon call provision IOPS, or a faster path to the disk, so that the database is never waiting for data transfer. And the last one, which is very straightforward but often overlooked, is that when we're moving from older environments, older on-premise systems, we're frequently coming from older chipsets, maybe hardware that's aging and doesn't perform as well as it once did. And on the slide there we've got some UltraSpark and we've got some IBM Power. And we just point out that when you move to the cloud, you move to a platform which is up-to-date and modern with up-to-date processors in it, but also that it stays up-to-date. So the cloud provider is responsible for the hardware refresh that sits underneath your infrastructure. So the days of doing a technology refresh every 3 to 5 years have gone, and now we can concentrate on, we can leave that job to the cloud provider and concentrate on business essentials. Now, we mentioned in the, one of the previous slides that we look at open source alternatives to databases and technologies. This is an interesting one because it's a topic that comes up quite frequently, and it's understandably one that customers are keen to exploit. It isn't one that comes without its pitfalls and costs, but it is an important one to think about when you're looking at your database estate as a whole. This is an interesting slide. It shows, once again, an Amazon example. It shows the costs of running an on-premise Oracle Enterprise Edition server. It's got 4 cores in there. And you'll see from the right-hand side that the annual cost of that, the software maintenance that's payable, is actually greater than the cost of running an open source alternative in the cloud. And just to be perfectly clear, that open source alternative includes the license for the database, all the hardware that underpins it, and operating and running it for 12 months. So this is understandably attractive. It's a place where lots of people want to go. It highlights the need to run the discovery process that we talked about earlier on, because this option won't be available for all databases. Where you use Enterprise Edition options, where you use special features that are available in Oracle's database platform, this won't be appropriate. But if there are perhaps bespoke environments or very simple database environments, this is increasingly be looked at as an option for customers. Just waiting for the next slide. And again, this is one that builds, but it shows that for our customers, simply being able to provide a solution that's in the cloud isn't good enough. It's about making sure that you can migrate the data to the cloud within the time frame and with the robustness that we need. And to do this, we use a combination of things. So what we always make sure is that we use Oracle's proprietary and supported mechanisms for moving data to the cloud. So this will be Oracle's data pump or export import from a few versions back, or an Oracle RMAN remote location in the cloud. And we'll also use technologies that have been developed by cloud companies in collaboration with Oracle, such as Amazon's database migration service. By using these technologies in conjunction, we can make sure that when the data moves over, its integrity is maintained, so that the robustness of the data is still there and the data can be trusted. But also we make sure that we can do the migration in the time frame that's available for the production system outage. A good example of this is one of our customers needs to, we're migrating currently, has a 5 terabyte Oracle database that needs to move to the cloud within 6 hours. Now this isn't possible over their internet connection. It isn't possible using physical devices because the cloud environment is too far away. So we'll actually use a combination of an export to a physical device which is taken ahead of time, but then we'll use Amazon's DMS, Database Migration Service, with its change data capture functionality to make sure that all the on-premise changes to the database are replicated to the cloud. This means that the customer essentially runs a complete replica of their database in the cloud, synchronized to on-premise, and then when they're ready to cut over, we simply close off any transactions in the on-premise system, wait for those to migrate to the cloud, close down the on-premise system and restart in the cloud, and that's absolutely achievable within their business outage. So moving on from the technology, it's worth looking at when is the appropriate timing for customers to move to the cloud, and when's the appropriate time for you to unravel all that legacy spaghetti and deal with that technical debt. From surveying our customers, it tends to come in one of a small number of critical events that are happening. So business expansion. So we've reached the limits of the available capacity of our on-premise or our hosted system, so we have to expand. This is a good opportunity to move to cloud. Cloud expands with you, essentially. Critical business events such as change of location or the opening of a new office can trigger a move to cloud. Opening in new regions is made very simple with cloud. You don't need to deploy any infrastructure to a new office. You can simply open up access to your existing cloud environments. Mergers and acquisitions, and the opposite as well, so divesting a company, can be good opportunities for cloud migration activity because you're seeking to incorporate 2 sets of data onto a single platform. Contract and license renewal, if there's a point of negotiation coming up, then it can be opportune to do that negotiation with a new platform in mind. Hardware end of life, of course, we talked about those technology refreshes that are no longer necessary in the cloud, but the one you do on premise can be a good opportunity to move. And lastly, software upgrade, and we include this one because
a lot of the hard work that's done when we migrate to cloud is in the retesting of applications and the end-to-end testing. This is also incumbent on a customer when they upgrade their software, because it needs to be tested to make sure it still fulfills the business requirement. So if we can simply do that testing once and migrate at the same time, that software upgrade is a good opportunity to do it.
That's great. Thanks very much, James. Robert, back with you. I noticed there's a couple of questions coming through on the chat box already, and Dave Bloxham will invite you to enter any questions you have. So if you've got any thoughts on what James has just presented, please fire away, and we're pleased to spend some time after the webinar answering those questions. So in terms of what James has positioned, as you mentioned, timing is pretty critical in the delivery of what is going to happen in your business. So planning that out is important, and we have a number of steps we'd want to take customers through, which matches sort of traditional global infrastructure plans in terms of how we move customers from A to B, and capturing those objectives and understanding the landscape of your existing technology and applications and working out a plan to move from where you are to where you want to be is an important aspect of the project. So in terms of getting to that point, one of the things that we're offering customers from this particular webinar is a couple of hour session to sit down with you and talk through the objectives of what you're trying to do. Those objectives will be different depending on some of the issues that James raised in respect of what faces you in terms of your business challenges, what the timings around that, and what's the investment and the outcomes that you need to see from those particular activities. So at that point, we'd like to draw to a close and hand over to David to close off the webinar.
Excellent. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, James. So as Rob mentioned, please use the chat box facility to send your questions. I do have a couple already that have come in, so I'll start with question number one that we have. So how will moving to the cloud impact my on-premise license fees?
Okay, so this is one of the ones that comes up every time we speak with a new customer. So the simplest answer is that using your Oracle licenses in the cloud is very similar to using them on-premise. So there's a set of rules that apply. You can license based on CPU, or you can license based on named users. Of course, customer situations vary, and I'm sure Rob can talk to the ways that they manage license engagements with customers. I think the simplest way to encapsulate that is that we haven't come across a customer yet that we couldn't migrate to the cloud and maintain their current license footprint. So none of our current customers have had to purchase any new licenses or perform any drastic changes to their licenses in order to move to the cloud. Rob, I don't know if you've got something more to add.
No, I think the only thing to say is that one of the common challenges we see from many customers is how to actually reduce their ongoing support costs from Oracle, and whether you're moving to a AWS platform or to Oracle SaaS, this is an opportunity to look at those costs and lever them down. And I think probably the pertinent one you mentioned was the DR situation, where you've got an opportunity then to lever out. And as everybody who's an Oracle user on this particular webinar will know, the challenge with Oracle is to strip apart some of these contracts because of the fact that you have the single CSIs, single contracts, and it's a great opportunity to reduce the costs by shifting through to a new platform.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. So second question I have is, I'm still on version 11.10. What are my options?
Okay, so this will be a question about Oracle E-Business Suite migration to cloud. I did mention about versions and migrations. Our recommendation is generally that we move to the Oracle's terminal release of a product or the latest recommended version. But we absolutely appreciate that this isn't possible for all customers. We know that there are customers that choose to remain on older versions of software because it absolutely 100% satisfies their needs. In that case, the migration can be a little bit more technically complicated because we have to reverse engineer some older technologies into the cloud, but we haven't found an Oracle technology that we couldn't migrate yet. So I think it would come back to the customer. It would be a case of if you'd like to, or if you have the opportunity to upgrade, then use this migration to cloud to kill those two birds with one stone. If you prefer to stay on the legacy version, then absolutely we can still do that and maintain exactly where you are as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, James. So I've had another question come in, and it's, I have a third-party managed service. How do I get the benefits of cloud without breaking the terms with the SI involved?
Okay, so yeah, I absolutely recognise that customers have existing relationships and responsibilities and third parties in place. I would say that something you should expect from your SI is that they can embrace the fact that lots of customers want to take advantage of cloud technologies. So, without knowing the details of the relationship, I would say talk to your SI, ask them how they can help you to explore the possibilities of cloud. At Clockwork, we're very used to the fact that there are existing relationships in place, and what we often find is that we can start to introduce some cloud infrastructure as a service, maybe for additional environments for a software project or an upgrade, and these can actually be managed by a third party because it's very similar to what they do already, and the customer starts to get the benefit of the cloud, so no more buying hardware, environments quickly available, but they can also continue to work with the teams that they're comfortable with and they've already got long-standing relationships with. So I would say talk to your SI. Rob?
Yeah, what we find is quite often is that many of the companies' workforce define their strategy, define where they want to go, and then hand over the finished system to the SI for managing. So it's a partnership in terms of the business, the strategies, and the SI providers. And I think many of the companies deal with tend to want to draw a line between the SI, who's going to provision a managed service, and the people who are defining the strategy in terms of poacher gamekeeper type of scenario. That's anything to say.
Okay, great, excellent. Thank you very much, gentlemen. That was the final question. So we were due to wrap up at 10:30. So if you do have a question, then obviously quickly type away into the chat box, or indeed use the email addresses, either Rob, myself, or James, to send your inquiry confidentially. Just leaves me to thank James and Rob for taking us through today's session, and thank you all for joining us today. I hope that's been valuable use of your time, looking at some of the key aspects and considerations and benefits and possible pitfalls of moving to cloud. We thank you again. We will be sharing the slide and the recording later today, so feel free to circulate that to your colleagues as well who you feel would benefit from that content. And we look forward to seeing you on a future webinar and events. Thank you very much.